Welcome to Finding Certainty with your host and U.S. Army veteran, Patrick Laing. Over the next hour, you'll learn from Patrick and his expert guests how to attract more certainty into your business and your life. Now, here is your host, Patrick Laing.
Welcome to Finding Certainty. It's our favorite day of the week. This is Patrick Laing, your host. I'm visiting with a very good friend and colleague, Mr. Rob Hagen of CrossFire IQ. Thanks for being with us this morning, Rob. Always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. We'll always have fun.
You know, it's interesting because I don't have very many guests that I have back more than once. You know, there's a lot of people I would love to talk to, and there's a waiting list of people trying to get on the show here and get their message out. And yet you're one of those that's been on not just twice, but I think 3 or 4 times now, right? And it's so you are in. I think you might be the only person I've had on. I think this is our 4th episode here on Finding Certainty. So thanks for putting up with me 4 times, and thanks for thank you for your time. I know how busy you are.
I know. I feel like Steve Martin on Saturday Night Live. You get on enough, and
yeah,
it starts being fun.
Either that or old Bill Murray on Groundhog Day, right?
There you go. There you go.
Well, we are very excited about our relationship and what our companies are doing together, where we're headed this next year. I thought we could kick off the year with you as our guest because your product offering, the service that we are both a part of, it's called the Corporate Benefits Initiative, is our team's primary focus. I mean, we have multiple divisions and multiple offerings, but this is the one they're most excited about, if I'm perfectly honest, for lots of reasons, which we'll talk about today. But, you know, our company, Certainty Management, and your company, CrossFire IQ, we're partnered in ways on these joint ventures. There's 2 or 3 of your services that we represent, but this CrossFire Corporate Benefits Initiative, what we call Capstone, it is just an extraordinary offering that is truly win-win-win for everyone involved, right?
100%.
So I thought we'd talk a little bit today, though, about evolution and kind of how we've evolved. And I believe that being open to evolution and change and new relationships is a big part of finding certainty in our lives and in our organizations. I thought we'd talk a little bit about that. But I always start out every show by sharing 2 reasons why I've invited this specific guest, and specifically why I've invited you back multiple times. You know, and first and foremost, you are one of the most impressive people I've ever worked with, Rob. And I don't want to stroke your ego too much, but I really mean that. You know, you've completed over 130 mergers and acquisitions in your life as a CPA and a CFO. You've been involved in multiple IPOs. You know, if I had to pick one reason, it is that you know how to pick projects, how to make them successful, and see them through to fruition. And that's exactly what we're doing with CBI, right?
100%.
Secondly, I've worked with a lot of executives and C-suite and professionals, both as clients and as colleagues over the years. And I've got to say, Rob, I really appreciate your approach to business. Not just what you're doing, but how you're doing it. You know, everything you stand for. You're a man of faith. You're a father. You're a husband. You're very accomplished, but you seem to understand the importance of balance in your life with your loved ones and your career, your profession. That's something I aspire to. I don't always do it perfectly, but I really appreciate your example, and I do believe those principles, those characteristics, are key to finding certainty in our lives. You're a great example of that, my friend. I really appreciate that. And probably one of the reasons I keep having you back, I keep learning new things and being reminded of who I am and who I want to be. So
I'll let you talk to my wife, and there's a gap. But
yeah, we'll just show her this recording, at least this first 10 minutes.
There you go.
Mrs. Hagen, you know, you got a good one. So
there, thank you.
No, but seriously, we go way back. You know, we've worked in partnership here in this joint venture relationship now for several years, and it's been a really extraordinary opportunity. I have learned a lot. I'm learning a lot working with you, but really enjoying the process.
Mm-hmm.
And, when I was first asked to do this radio show, I met with the general manager of Voice America, and he said, what are the pillars of your show? What would you do a show on? And I immediately said, I want to focus on creating certainty for people. I said, but if I had to pick pillars, I said, first is that we have to be willing to evolve. We have to be willing to change, right? We get stuck in our ways, right? Set in our ways or stuck in a rut. And I don't think you can achieve certainty without considering new opportunities.
Yep.
Whether that's technologies, relationships, approaches, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, secondly, we really need to work together. We need to look past our differences, realize that we agree on a lot more than we disagree on, and focus on that. Agree to disagree if we have to, but focus on the good. I said, if we do that, I think if there's one more pillar, I think we can get back the national pride that we've in some ways lost over the years. And
agreed.
And I was thinking about that this morning before the show, that what you and I have done together and what we're doing most certainly now with the Corporate Benefits Initiative is a great example of those three pillars, right? Those three principles. We're willing to consider new relationships and maybe change how we're doing things a little bit.
Yep.
And every employer should do that, right? Every client should do that. And we're working together. And what we have that we're going to be talking about today is truly a win-win-win relationship. So, you've got a lot more experience than I do in business. I mean, over 130 mergers and acquisitions all over the world. That's incredible. Every one of them, I'm sure, was a challenge, some easier than others, right? But have you seen the same thing? I mean, do you agree with me about evolution and collaboration, that it is key to getting where we want to go? Or am I out in left field on that?
No, there's a couple of things. One is, and you get better with age. If I met you in my 20s or in my 30s, you would not like me. I was out of balance. I was making a lot of money, but I was just going, and I wasn't balanced. I didn't have time I was traveling 300 to 330 days a year, and understanding God, family, career, friends, figuring out where those fit and figuring out how to leverage so that you can work smarter, not harder, and really be balanced, because you're just so much happier yourself. You go through those years early in your life and you have some good ones where you're making, millions in a year instead of, 150,000. It changes everything when you're suddenly balanced, and you figure out that it's not about the money. It's not about the things. Because when you're out of balance, you're trying to find happiness, right? You feel happiness with going out and shopping for stuff and buying a new car and buying a horse for your daughter. I bought a dance studio for my daughter. I was bringing it in, but it was going out just as fast. And now we're really much more focused on understanding what God's purpose is for mine and my wife's life, and keeping everything focused around there, and work and products and services that we're going to talk about has a place because we're bringing happiness and contentment and that same balance. If we're bringing additional profitability and we're able to mentor those that we're working with and those customers that we're working for, everyone can find what ultimately you've sort of discovered later on in your life, that it doesn't need to be hard. It needs to be focused.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. It's interesting because as I talk about evolution, I think it's really a process of progression and maturation, right? We're maturing in our understanding of what's most important, where we want to spend our time. It's like you see someone who has been a busy executive and suddenly they have cancer. Well, that changes everything, right? Their priorities change.
That's right.
Their focus, where they want to spend their time. Hopefully they make it through it, but whether they do or not, it changes their experience. I just heard a story the other day about a man a friend of my parents, who fell off a 3-story balcony
Hmm.
He said, I had a self-inflicted accident. I think he was leaning back, leaned too far, and fell and broke almost every bone in his body. He even said he had one of those near-death experiences where he met the Savior and saw his son who had died and eventually came back. Well, that experience changed everything for him, right? His priorities, where he spends his time. It was, it was a major paradigm shift. And anyone out there who doesn't know what a paradigm shift is, I'm sure you're familiar, Rob, with Stephen Covey's book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. It's a classic in the business world, but if you'll indulge me, I want to share this story because I think it applies to this principle that we're talking about. He was on a train one morning, riding the train from, I think, New Jersey into New York. It was a Sunday morning, I believe. It was kind of a quiet, peaceful morning. People were reading their papers and so forth and so on. And at one stop, a man got on the train with his kids. He had some young children. He sat right next to Stephen Covey and put his head in his hands and was kind of staring at the floor, but he's right next to Mr. Covey. And his kids, meanwhile, started wreaking havoc. Right? They're running up and down, and they're pushing each other and kind of fighting, and just kind of it totally disrupted the whole feel of this peaceful Sunday morning, right?
Yep.
And everybody's looking at this guy like, "Come on, man, what's your problem? Take control of your brood." Finally, Stephen leans over and taps the guy on the knee and says, "Excuse me, sir." He says, "Your children are really disrupting people." And he goes, I'm not sure what's going on, but maybe I can help, right? And he was kind of irritated like everybody else was, right? The guy comes up out of his reverie and says, "Oh, I'm so sorry." He said, "Kids, get over here. Sit down." And he gets after him. And he says, "I'm really sorry." He said, "We just came from the hospital, and their mother just passed away." And Stephen Covey talks about how instantly how he felt and how he viewed this man and how he, what he was experiencing changed on a dime, right? Instantly, it changed not just how he saw him, but how he felt toward him. And he just obviously felt immediate compassion and just sympathy and said, "I'm so sorry. Can I help you with your kids?" But that is a paradigm shift, right? Where we change how we view things.
Yep.
As we go through, sometimes it takes years to have a paradigm shift and go through that change of perspective, but sometimes it happens instantaneously. But I do agree with you. It's an important step. I believe we can go through it proactively. Like we can seek to grow and learn and become a better person, a more mature person, or we can let it happen, kind of passively and let it take its time. But
Life is fragile. Life is fragile, and every day is a blessing. I just last night, as you know, down by us, I'm in Southern California, where about 45 miles away from me is burning.
On the fires,
and, and I talked to my cousin who lives in Brentwood, a nice area. He's a partner in a private equity fund, has everything going for him. And last night he lost his house.
Oh,
and
no.
They have 3 young children. He's about 15 years younger than me.
Okay.
And he's gone from the world looking at him as one of the truly successful. He's in his early 40s, really successful. They own a ton of well-known brand names, which I could tell you. You'd recognize them all. And he's lost everything. They've got insurance and they'll be fine, and he has a good job and all the rest, but they've lost everything. And you talk about a lot of times what you don't want to do. If I could say what you don't want to do, or what the listeners don't want to do, is don't let an emergency change what you should change yourself. Take the learning lessons from everything you see around you, whether that's in your church, in your kids' schools, in your good friends, and recognize that you can find balance and you can find focus around your life's purpose, God's purpose for your life, and go through that paradigm shift, because I went through it. I absolutely went through it, and I didn't have to go through one of those life-changing moments. But it took me way too long. It took me 10, 12 years. My relationship with my first two children was impacted. It's better, much, much better now, but it took 10, 15, 20 years to sort of repair all the things when you're out of focus and you're just focused on making money, the bigger house, the nicer cars, the nice vacations, all the stuff that in the end is fun, it's nice, but it doesn't really matter. And once you really get a sense around, and if you're married, if you've got a significant relationship, what God talks about is bringing your life purposes together, and finding that soul becoming one. And my wife and I have group homes for autistic children with dual diagnosis, which means they've got a brain injury in addition to the autism.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that's what hers has been, and I came together with her partially to help finance that, and partially to live out her dream, which has become our dream, and our children are a part of it, and we love doing that. That's what we do. And I can just tell you, it changes your perspective when you can work with those that are less fortunate, because it doesn't take much to go from somebody that's doing it to somebody that needs it. I watched my mother go from being one of the top attorneys at the second largest law firm in the world to going through Alzheimer's and finally passing away. Patrick, you and your mother sort of helped me through that process a couple of years ago. You never know where you go from being here to being that person that's giving to that person that's receiving, because life is very fragile. And, if you don't accept that, you're going to get it. It doesn't bypass anybody. Death is a sure thing.
You're going to learn it one way or the other, whether you want to or not. Right?
100%.
Or at least you're going to be reminded of it. You may still not learn the lessons that you're supposed to. Some refuse to. Right. And It's interesting because as I look at people that I admire, yourself included, others that I consider mentors and examples and colleagues, there are those who seem to have figured it out and those who still need to, right? And you're like, I wish you could. But I believe that you can learn those lessons as you're going through life and going through your work and all the hours it takes and so forth. Not just wait until the end where you have 20/20 hindsight. I talk a lot about foresight, midsight, and hindsight. People probably get tired of me talking about this, but I think it's such an important principle. Foresight, we're preparing, we're looking forward to the future, and hindsight, we're looking back and learning, lessons and so forth. But while we're going through things, if we step back a little bit and start asking ourselves those questions, like, am I truly happy? Am I making my loved ones happy? Am I keeping balanced? Am I being wise? If we ask those questions sooner than later, I think we really reap the benefits and we'll have a richer, more significant experience, really. I talk about ripple effects all the time. These ripple effects happen.
They just do.
They happen a lot more and will continue to grow if you start on it sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I refer to this transition in life. Don't focus on retirement. Everyone says, well, wouldn't it be great to wake up with nothing to do? Don't focus on retirement. So don't retire, rewire. Rewire your brain to think in terms of, what would I love? What would I love my life to become? Which is all about creating alignment between what I would love and why God created me. And when you get that, and what you get from that is realizing that your road to looking back is never done, right? You know who your savior, you know what that model is, and you never will be that. There's always room for growth, and you just constantly tell your kids, you tell those that you love, we all are walking along a path. And life, you say, what's life's purpose? Life's purpose is about helping others, and helping others that God has created you to being able to help them, probably with something that you've been through. And the more you can do that, the happier you'll be, the more successful you'll be, and the more your life will work together to, again, focus on that purpose, which ultimately becomes who you are as an individual.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. You know, as we go through our lives and we're learning these lessons, and we are hopefully becoming more patient, more humble, et cetera, et cetera. One of our objectives is to create momentum in our lives. You know, I started doing a monologue last year. So the first Friday of each month, I do a monologue. And my very first one was on accountability, and the second was on balance, interestingly. You know, you talk about balance. I really believe that's an important element. And I went through composure, discipline, endurance, faith, giving, humility, integrity, joy. What else was there? Oh, kindness and light. That was my whole monologue for last year, 2024. All of these are principles that I believe contribute to certainty in our lives and to truly to success in our lives. This year, I kicked off January talking about momentum. M is for momentum. And little insight, I'm actually going to put them into a book. So 2 different volumes, the first year and the second year when all is said and done. But as I was talking about momentum, I shared 7 principles for how to create momentum in our lives. And the first was visualization. Second was action, right? You have to take action. You can't sit and hope it happens. I talked about affirmation. I talked about progression, collaboration. The last one, though, the second to last was recalculation. You know, we're constantly talking about mid-sight, stepping back and analyzing what we do. We usually have to recalculate a little bit, right? You think about when you're driving down the road, your hands are never still, unless you're in a Tesla that's being self-driven, maybe. You're constantly correcting and staying on the road. Pilots do the same thing, right? They're constantly adjusting their course. We have to do that, right? And then the last one was magnification. It will, or multiplication. It continues to expand.
Right.
Well, we've seen that happen in our industry, in our business. You know, we're coming up against our break for the day. I do one break in the show, as you know, but I want to get back and get into CBI and Capstone and everything we're doing there.
Yep.
Because what we're talking about leads to that. We've had the paradigm shift. We've seen where people, what employers need. We have a remarkable solution to that, and an offering for that. You know, we have we've done some recalculating, right?
We have,
because it's inevitable with any business you do. You're constantly assessing what's working. You're finding ways to do it better. You're learning from your mistakes. You're learning from others' mistakes, hopefully, and getting better and better and better. You know, maybe before we go to break, you could explain what the industry is, the whole Section 125 industry, and what's made this offering possible. And then when we come back, we'll get into how it works.
Yeah, let me tell a short story that'll take me 30 seconds. We were physically in front of the CEO of a 68,000 employee hospital, about 15,000 doctors and a whole lot of administrative staff and nurses. And he said, you know, Rob, what I love about what you do is my biggest complaint from my doctors is that they did not go to school to do everything that your solution does. AI, technology, and Zoom have created an ability to take 40% of what happens in the healthcare industry, automate it, make it better, make it less expensive, and make it more to what the customer wants, and allow my doctors to spend the 60% or 100% of their time on the 60% of saving lives, taking vital signs, you know, doing all the the little stuff, writing prescriptions, all that stuff is so much better in an automated AI fashion. Let them go focus on the operations, the surgeries, the fixing the big things, so that the technology and all the things that we do that doesn't make any sense relative to when we went to medical school. And your solution does all of that so well. So we'll talk about what that 40% is, but it's just amazing, and it's all being able to be done at no out-of-pocket cost to the employer, the employee, the hospitals, or any of us.
Yeah, it's something that couldn't be done in the past because the technology didn't exist to do it. I mean, I know there's differing opinions about AI and so forth, but most people who are intelligent and open-minded and insightful, they know that AI is bringing some extraordinary things, right? And not just making it more efficient, more cost-effective, and easier for the providers, but more accessible for the users, right? For the patients. And so we are going to go to break real quick. Don't go away. When we come back, we're going to talk about what this solution is, how it's blessing lives, how it could potentially bless your life or that of your employer or employees. And we're visiting with Rob Hagen. He's one of the partners in a really remarkable company named CrossFire IQ. One of 3 partners heading up this just national expansion that is turning a lot of heads. So we will be right back. Thanks for being with us here on Finding Certainty.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right. We're clear.
I purposely had to make a decision to sort of create some intrigue around the 40%, because if you give away too much on the front end, people are like, okay, I sort of get it. I know what that is.
I understand. No, 100%.
So,
I was telling you how I was just in New York this last week, and we met with a group that is a big PR firm in New York City, and they want to, normally you typically pay them thousands of dollars to represent them, and it's on a retainer. I mean, it's thousands of dollars a month, right? And we paid them a deposit, but they agreed to work with us on a rev share agreement, right, as a joint venture, largely because of the CBI opportunity and what can be made and what, just how many clients it can help, how universal it is. So we're very excited about that. I just met with the owner for breakfast the other day in Edgewood Hills, New Jersey. And we know
where that is.
We're excited because she's going to get us on podcasts and print, and then she's got 20 years of broadcasting experience, and she's going to place us on television talking about this. And so it's going to be one more. When I talk about all the things that are happening with the company and all the doors we're opening, that's one of them we're very optimistic about.
Good. Well, again, I can't win unless you guys win, and vice versa. So
that's right. We can't win without you. So
busy.
But we're very pleased with how it's going and very excited about where we're headed. So
good.
You are listening to Finding Certainty with Patrick Laing. Have a question for Patrick or his guests? Join us on the show at 866-472-5790. That's 866-472-5790. Now, back to the show with Patrick.
Welcome back to Finding Certainty. We're visiting with Rob Hagen. He's one of the partners of how do you define CrossFire IQ? I mean, how do you refer to yourselves other than a deliverer of services and a broker? Do you have a definition for CrossFire?
Well, we wrote a book. There's a book on Amazon, self-published, called CrossFire IQ. CrossFire IQ is all about understanding your customer and finding ways to make them more profitable. We don't charge for anything we do. Everything we do is about saving money or accelerating revenue at no cost. And yeah, we've been doing it for 26 years. Merchant processing, a lot of people, it's kind of a commoditized space. We now own the whole stack. So we can provide the best rates for people that do credit cards. We can do consumer finance. We have insurance offerings, much like the CVI is one of those insurance offerings. There's a lot of really neat things where we're using tax law as well as cost savings to provide benefits. And if we don't save them money, if we don't make them more profitable, we don't get paid.
Well, obviously, that's why it resonated with us from the very first product offering or partnership that we had up until today, because our company is all about profitability. It's about putting dollars back in our clients' pockets. And you were talking before about prioritization and the fact you can't take it with you. You never see a hearse pulling a U-Haul to the cemetery, right? We encourage our clients to we explain what we do at Certainty Management by saying we can help you make more and help you keep more. We also encourage you to give more. I think it's really important as a business or as an individual that you learn to pay it forward. And it's actually a good financial move because it's like tithing, right? You pay it and it comes back to you tenfold. You don't know. I mean, the scriptures say in Malachi, it says the windows of heaven will be opened up and blessings will be poured out upon you for paying tithing that
100%
that you can't even imagine, right? More than you can comprehend. It's the last book in Malachi. I don't remember the verse, but it's a principle that if you can understand the importance of, obviously you want to make as much as you can as a business, you want to keep as much as you can. You want to make sure that you're giving back. And if you do so, amazing things happen. Well, CBI, one of the reasons we love about it, or one of the things we really appreciate, is that it is a blessing to the employees that we serve, not just dollars in the employer's pocket, not just a benefit to them, but I referred to it earlier as a win-win-win for all parties involved.
Yep.
And that's exactly what it is. Do you mind maybe just doing a quick overview of what it is and how it works?
Sure. I'll do a 10-minute talk in 2 minutes or less.
Yeah.
So from an employee's perspective, there's really 4 key things to think about. One is a very rich EAP program, all driven by a world-class app. EAP stands for Employee Assistance Program. Employers can pay for those. They're typically around $15 per employee per month. Ours comes with the program. Again, no out-of-pocket cost to anybody. It's going to come with the program. Allows you to call a health concierge. My mom, when she was going through her health difficulties, had her own subscription to a health concierge, and she was spending $495 a month to have a world-class health. You get that with this app. All right. So you hit a button within 10 seconds, an expert's going to come on. Doesn't matter if you have an infection, if you have dental problems, if you have dermatology issues, if you have mental health issues, right? So you can get access to any one of thousands of specialists. You and your spouse are having an argument. You just want to get on with a mental health, a family counselor to sort of help you guys through that. It's available in seconds where you can sit down. You can schedule follow-on appointments. You can get prescriptions written. It comes with a no-cost prescription refill with 80,000 participating pharmacies. So the EAP program, whatever you're dealing with, emergency or ongoing, with you and your spouse, your family under the age of 26, not your spouse, but your children under the age of 26, it's covered, no cost to use, no limits in how many times you use it. Really, really good. Secondly, you're going to get an indemnity insurance contract. And everyone knows those kind of as the Aflac-like contracts. You see Deion Sanders and Nick Saban talking a little bit about how we provide cash. It's not group health medical insurance. It's not meant to be. But if you have copays, if you have to get in an ambulance, if you have to go check yourself into an emergency room, if you have to check yourself into a hospital, if you need a mammogram or colonoscopy, there's a big list of items that are covered. And again, it's not meant to cover it. It's meant to supplement your group health insurance. They will provide a check. They will provide cash to help pay for the copays associated with group health insurance, or just even if group health insurance pays it all, you're still going to get the cash to reimburse you for the inconvenience of what you went through.
I love that.
Third, this plan is 100% IRS protected. There's IRS guarantee that if the IRS ever came in and questioned the compliance of the program, or you're ever audited as an employee or an employer, the insurance is going to cover, and they're going to take over the audit. You have no risk as an employer or as an employee to be on this program. The only program like this. This is the only one that has the IRS protection. And then fourth, there's tax savings. Just like any program, there's a premium that's charged, and it's 100% self-insured, so your paycheck is kept whole. After the tax savings comes from a Section 125 pre-tax deduction, that tax savings is going to pay for 100% of this program, and there's going to be money left over, typically $50 to $100 left over. And you can use that money to either increase each employee's paycheck, or they can use it to invest in a Mass Mutual whole life insurance contract, guaranteed issue, so there's no medical questions, and fully portable. If you ever retire, if you ever resign, if you ever get fired, the cash value, again, this is not a term policy, this is a whole life policy. That cash value is the employees to keep, and they can take it with them. Obviously, the premiums are no longer covered with tax savings because they're no longer working for you, but they still, any cash value that's been generated in the plan, it's available. And for the employer, there's no out-of-pocket cost, and there are excess tax savings that will improve your profitability and your EBITDA. Employers love it. Love it that they have all these great benefits without having to be out additional money given the increases to their group health insurance and dental policies.
Well, I hear this a lot, Rob, that I hear clients say, well, why wouldn't everyone do this? This is a no-brainer, right? We can offer 15 additional benefits to our employees, and they're paid for out of tax savings. And just to be clear, this isn't a tax credit. It's not a tax deduction. This is tax savings. These are taxes that you as an employer are already paying, right? Payroll taxes, FICA, Social Security, that sort of thing. And so CrossFire shows you how to set up this program, structure your payroll tax so that the cost of these benefits are deducted pre-tax. This lowers your overall tax burden, and the savings pays for the benefits. And to Rob's point, it actually puts hundreds of dollars a year per employee back on your bottom line. I was in New York just this last week for business, and I met a young man from Villanova, a college student, sitting at a Starbucks. I was telling him about our student program, where we help college students graduate debt-free, and he told me that his dad owns a company. He's the CEO and president of a company with 13,000 employees. They're a senior care facility. Well, I just did the math. If we save him, say, $650 per employee times 13,000 employees, I said that's $8.5 million back in his budget. And not just one year, but every year. In addition to free benefits, not free, but benefits paid for by the tax savings, he said, I think my dad would be interested in that. And remember, these are, I say this with all of our offerings, that these are net dollars. That's not just $8.45 million on your bottom line, but that's the equivalent. It could be the equivalent of maybe $85 million in new business, new sales.
Right.
You're the CPA.
Pre-tax. Your pre-tax margin is 10%. That's exactly. It would take $85 million of sales to match the net benefit to the shareholders. I remind my team about that a lot, and I try to remember that, because my very first customer with Certainty Management, you probably haven't heard this story, Rob, but we started with a product line that helps customers renegotiate their printer and copier contracts. I used to be the VP of sales for that company. That was the first product we brought on.
when we started Certainty. And we helped this electric contractor up in Portland, Oregon, who was paying about $20,000 a month. We helped them chop their costs down to about $8,000 a month. They were blown away by it, right? A $12,000, 60-month contract. It was over $500,000 even after our split. And they keep 70, we keep 30. But anyway, so $500,000, I was pretty excited about that. But the CEO said to me afterwards, he said, I don't think you realize that for us is about $20 million in new sales. I mean, they'd work all year long to make 5% net profits. And if we did 10, it was a phenomenal year, right? And so that's what we're talking about, not just all these additional benefits, but truly net dollars that can be significant, especially if you have any size to you.
Yeah, and again, I don't say this at a cocktail party, but it's not what you make, it's what you keep. And that's the whole point is what is your pre-tax margin? And for most companies, it's 5, and even for software companies, it doesn't go much higher than 15 or 20%. So there's a huge 10x multiplier if you can put that kind of money on your bottom line,
right?
And the effort that takes. Plus, you have to go hire salespeople, you have to go hire marketing people, you have to hire people to ship your product or deliver the service. It's a tremendous benefit. And again, the 20 to 40% reduced voluntary turnover that we see from our clients that have been in the program for over a year is all about they don't want to lose these benefits. They don't want to lose that life insurance policy. Their family depends on it. They can't get that kind of a benefit without significant cost to them or their employees. And this is all going to be paid for. And ultimately, the goal is for these employees and for America to get to 65 in Medicare and not be the significant burden on our government, not be significant burden with all the added borrowing that we have to do to pay for all these medical costs. And we won't get political, but understanding that if we can cut the type 2 diabetes and heart disease and Alzheimer's by just living a healthier life, which is what this program is all about, without the hassles of having to go to a hospital or see your doctor, that's going to benefit the federal government. It's going to federal the employer, the employees, and there's money to be made all around because it's just a better way to do healthcare.
Well, and that's a really important point, and it's actually how we respond when people say, I mean, how is this possible? I'm able to give benefits, additional benefits to my employees with no out-of-pocket costs, no net impact to their paycheck. If anything, there's a positive impact. How is this possible? Why does it work? And I always say, Congress is willing to take less taxes today in hopes of spending billions of dollars less tomorrow, right, for Medicare. The benefits to the employers are multiple because it does help with recruiting when you can offer more benefits. It does help with retention, to your point. The only benefit they can take with them is the life policy. It is portable, but they have to start paying for it if they leave. We've also found that as these benefits are available, and my favorite benefit, Rob, just so you know, is the biometric app, where they can scan their retinas and it gives them all these data points. It uploads the data to their primary care physician if they want it to, and so forth. It's analyzed by AI, but it really engages the employees in the technology and in the service. They have access to the concierge and so forth. But as they start to use these benefits, their utilization of their major healthcare can actually go down, right? And as a business owner, what does that mean? What can that do for them?
Well, I mean, from a business owner standpoint, first off, you're giving your employees a tremendous gift, and you're just going to have a better culture around building a family environment again, particularly as you start to grow quite a bit older. But again, we just signed a contract with a major college and university, and one of the things they said was, we have decided, and this college university, call it 10,000 employees. I can't give exact numbers under NDA, but what they said is, we've made a decision at a board of trustees level to take the tax savings that we're getting it's about $6 million a year. And we're going to divide that in two. $3 million of that money is going to be going into our NIL program. We cannot fund our NIL program right now for the athletes in our program to be competitive. And secondly, we're going to give bonuses to all of our employees because that's just part of our culture. If one of our employees brings an idea and that idea gets implemented, 50% of any net benefit is going to be given back to the employees as a thank you for, not all good decisions have to come from executives or administrative personnel. They can come, in this case, it came from a teacher.
That's great. And really, that's the whole point, right? This is creating more benefit for the employees. The savings that's going back to the employer's bottom line, they can do with it what they want. Maybe they want to pay Christmas bonuses. Maybe they want to put it back into growth, put it into hiring a couple new team members they needed that they didn't have the budget for, whatever the case might be. And to your point, if the organization is big enough, this can be millions of dollars, and not just one year, but every year coming back into their budget. It's extraordinary, right?
Yeah, we have four customers right now, employers that the savings are tens of millions.
Wow.
So it's real money. And a smaller business, you can buy a boat, you can increase it's your money. The point is make investments back in the business,
pay your house off.
Pay your house off. And there's a lot of hospitals right now that are just short of funding. They need to fill a gap, and we've got a number of hospitals that are in the pipeline. And are interested in the program because it's hard, but they love the concept. They love the fact that this allows them to do what they went to medical school to do.
Well, and I think it's important to mention that this is not a new idea. It's not a new concept. The tax code that this is founded upon was established in 1948. I mean, it's been around for 75 years. The Section 125 is still... It's used by companies nationwide for their cafeteria plans and other things. It basically it just says that you can deduct the cost of health and wellness pre-tax.
Right.
Because again, Congress wants to get our employees healthier and keep them productive and hopefully pay less for Medicare eventually. But I love it because it's actually an example of them having some foresight, which doesn't always happen, right? It just has a lot of upside. Obviously, the benefits to the employees are easy access to these benefits through their app, through their concierge, and they don't have to take time off to go across town for a doctor's appointment. They can do it right through their phone or their tablet. If they need mental health, I mean, how many of us have felt like we could stand to talk to a counselor? Maybe we're going through marital problems or addiction recovery or something like that. Maybe just
or our
dealing with the blues, right?
Right.
But to be able to access unlimited telemedicine with no copays, and again, teledoc, no copays, free prescriptions if we need them.
No limits.
That's a pretty significant. Yeah, it's a significant addition to our lives. I think just knowing those benefits are there boosts everyone's morale and mental health, right?
100%.
So, as you've seen, talking back, as we were talking about paradigm shifts and recalculating, what have you seen as we've gone through this process? We've looked at multiple providers of this business, and we actually started with one and then decided it wasn't checking all the boxes. We wanted a better program. We wanted it to be as compliant as possible. We wanted it to be as simple and to use and as robust as possible. What have you seen are the biggest paradigm shifts or recalculation steps that you as a company have gone through? Maybe 2 or 3 of those growing pains or realignments that have happened over the last year. I know there's been some significant ones, but what would you say as one of the partners?
Yeah. So what I would say to you is, in programs like this, again, we are very customer focused, which is employer focused. And so it all has to start with, is the company that's providing the back end service, all these doctors, everyone that's going to get on with your employees, do they have the infrastructure? Do they have the scale? Have they been around for dozens of years to understand how to manage millions of employees on a program like this? That was huge. That was huge because you can't work with five guys and a dog. As much as you want to scale, because we've seen a lot of companies that are great relative to the offering, the product, but if the service isn't there, if the infrastructure isn't there, if you want people that have been in business for decades. And this, the company that we work with that we're selling and marketing for has been in business for decades, has thousands of employees, has all of the right contracts. It's done. And they've been providing this service for years. So that's a big one.
They have thousands of 5-star reviews.
It's
right?
pretty, and in the
They're
health,
incredible.
if you know the health and wellness space, you don't get a lot of 5-star reviews. These guys are world class.
I agree.
They've done and all about training. Secondly, when you're dealing at the board of trustee level, the board of directors level, the CEO and the CFO and the chief legal counsel for some larger customers, because we have some larger customers. The first thing they're going to care about is is there compliant? Is there compliance with tax code 105, 106, 113, and 125? And if you can't get through that conversation, you don't have a program. So not only can this group and our legal team get through that conversation with bells on, but they also offer this is the only program that's offered that has a full audit protection guarantee. If anything ever came up from the IRS, it's going to be taken off of your shelf and it's going to be paid for and administered and handled by a third party. So there's no risk. There's no audit risk. There's no compliance risk. It's all taken care of. Those are the two big things that makes our program and our infrastructure and our dozens of years of being in business and our partners to be the best in class offering when you're looking at, because you're going to get a lot of emails as a business owner about, hey, I've got a no cost product or a no net cost product to bring some neat benefits and dollars to you and your employees. That's a neat concept, and we can say that, but that's not why you should choose a program. You really want to, those are the two things that we've had to assimilate around and make sure that we end up with the right partner. That's everything. Right.
Well, and it's those things combined, the whole tortilla that has made it really an extraordinary opportunity for people like us, right? For teams like ours and for insurance agents out there that are looking for a new product to represent. I mean, there's a lot of them, thousands of insurance agents that have been impacted by changes in the Affordable Care Act and other things.
Sure.
They're looking for a home. And we're bringing on new team members on a weekly basis. Dozens of new team members that have been looking for something, right? They're looking for a place to call home. And we have that. We have not only this, but several offerings that combine to provide such value to our clients and their employees. And so this is the cream of the crop, though. It's interesting. I think, if I may say this, Rob, that indemnification, the insurance and the audit protection, it's really like frosting on the cake. It's not even necessary because the likelihood of the IRS ever retracting this, it would impact thousands of companies and their cafeteria plans, and everybody would be the congressman would be getting their phone to be ringing off the hook. It's very unlikely for that to ever happen, but we still have this protection in place. It goes back for the 3 years and the statute of limitations, et cetera, on them being able to go back and audit. It's just that further layer of confidence and assurance for our clients that, and the 1% chance it might happen, you're going to be protected.
Yeah,
right.
And I'll give you a new data point, Patrick, that for us was just so reassuring. We just closed a contract this week this week, just 2-3 days ago, with an Ivy League university. We're bringing the Capstone Plus program into an Ivy League university. If you know anything about Washington, D.C. and the IRS and all the three-letter terms and Congress and senators, they all come out of the Ivy League. So you have to know that when you've got a major Ivy League university contemplating at the Board of Trustees level, they're calling their buddies. They're calling their senators.
Oh, yeah.
They all went to school. They're not gonna mess with that. And to see that go through without any issues around compliance or anything else, it was all around making sure that the training and the infrastructure that the employees are going to get and the support that the employer is going to get is top notch. And that to me was a big vote of confidence that everyone can look at and say, yeah, I want to be a part of this. It's what AI has done, the tools have done, and the relationships with the people that know how to do these things better than the hospitals and the doctors. So the doctors can focus on what they went to. They want to save lives, and a lot of the stuff that this does, eliminates an ear infection or deals with a broken toe in the gym, or prevents a heart attack, or because it can see what's going on inside your body. This device can track your blood pressure. It's a type 2 medical device with the app that can track and if you go into the hospital with heart problems and you can see what your heart pressure, your blood pressure has been for the last 6-7 months. We already have examples of people saving their own lives because the speed at which you can deal with things, if you really understand the HIPAA protected app and the ability to store medical and wellness information for long periods of time. So
right.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, it's a combination of combining and leveraging the services, right, provided by these major providers. I mean, Mass Mutual is the life insurance policy or provider. They've been around for 175 years, right? It's just an example of the type of partners that we have providing the services. And then you combine that with the technology and where it is today and where it's headed and the pricing that we're able to secure and the delivery. It is really a perfect storm for employers, employees, anyone looking for an opportunity to be a part of something it's just going to get bigger, right? It's getting better and better. I mean, every time we think we're there, we hear of something new that's been added in or it's coming that's that much better, right? It's just
totally
remarkable. Great. So we're out of time, but Rob, always a pleasure. As I said, I wanted to kick off this year. This is a very big year for our company, for your company, for our clients. So much is happening. You mentioned the NIL space. I mean, our NIL funding opportunity that we have, anyone out there who's looking for solutions, we have the perfect storm for that. We've really unlocked the NIL code. If you're looking for a way to raise NIL funding and have the tax benefit that was elusive. It still is elusive for most. It's not tax deductible, but we have a solution for that. It's very exciting for me because as we talk about paradigm shifts and evolution and ripple effects, we're seeing them happening before our eyes. And Rob, we know how hard you work. Tell your wife thank you for us. We know I know you do a good job of trying to stay balanced, but I also know you're putting in a lot of hours, and we really appreciate it. And
sure,
we're excited for where we're headed.
Me too.
So, thanks for being on Finding Certainty. If you're listening to the show, certainty is out there. You can find it. We can help. Have a fantastic weekend and Happy New Year. Have a great year, a great 2025. We're looking forward to spending it with you. Come on back on Fridays, and we will. We'll be here. My show may actually be changing to Wednesdays at midday. We've been doing research, and they think that might even be a better time for us. So we'll get the information out to you, though. But thanks for spending your morning with us. We look forward to next week. I wish you the very best, and take care of yourself. Talk to you later. There you are.
Everything went black.
Yeah, I just lost you.
Anyway,
So you were saying if an agent has 5,000 employees in the system, they can get the app
for free,
or the service.
or they can sell us they can sell anybody, off the shelf just a plain wrap version of the app and all the service. I don't know what the price is, but I know there's a monthly charge. But it was
if you can find out, let me know. I'd be very interested. I'd love to tell the team about that. We have had that question: is can we get access to this? I think if for no other reason, to be able to say we use it personally, right? And this has been our experience.
Yeah, so. It makes a difference. And obviously, when I'm on with, again, I'm on with your guys all the time, and when we're doing client calls, I can use personal experience, which is what I'm sure Lane and Garrett and Andy and all the people. Steve has been great. Jim Gray is amazing. I know that Dennis Brown. All those guys I'm sure would love to be able to speak to personal experience.
I'll spread the word.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let me find out.
Let me know. Let me know on pricing.
I'll find out.
All right.
All right.
Was there anything else that you'd want to share? We're still recording for YouTube. So is there anything else that you'd want to share just in closing or add to?
I don't think so. Obviously, the pipeline is full. To say that, what's nice is when my wife and the kids go do something and I'm watching football this time of year, it's a perfect time for me to do some other things with work and dual function and not interrupt my relationship with the kids or my wife. But it's busy. I think what's happened to your whole conversation is what's happened just in the last 6 to 12 months is it's gone from a great idea with lots of question marks to an accepted way that the health industry is going to run and people want to be a part of it. And what's neat, so we haven't, we put a lot of stress on the system and I haven't seen any limits to how far this can scale and how quickly it can scale. And it's pretty neat to work with partners like you guys, like Amaze Health, like GP Agency, like Mass Mutual that are able, when you bring a customer with 60,000 employees and you need to do 60,000 life insurance policies, which all require wet signatures, and to be able to, Mass Mutual doesn't have a problem, right? They've got tens of thousands of employees. They're more than ready to sell tens of thousands of life insurance policies. But it's nice to work with it's all about the right partners, which is the point I tried to make during the show.
Yeah. Well, it is. And that's why, we've enjoyed our relationship so much. We're very picky about our vendors, right? And in fact, I say often, we don't have any vendors that we don't have a multi-year relationship with. My first vendor is a company is owned by my very best friend. He's been in business for 30 years. Wow. Those are the kinds of relationships we have here at Certainty Management. In fact, if there's ever an exception, it's because they were referred to us by someone we've known for years, right? Our vendor relationships are very important to us, and we've made a couple of mistakes and had to unwind things and go a different direction. But it's been very rare, right? And
if you don't make mistakes, Patrick, you're not pushing the envelope. And
that's right.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Just true.
Well, it's going to be a great year. Appreciate all you're doing for our team. I know you're spending a lot of time with them.
I am.
We want to be your top reseller team. I think we have the potential to do that this year. And
there's only one other team that's going to compete with you, and that's the Alabama team. But they've got a U.S. senator on the team. They've got a U.S. governor, a state governor on their team. They've got the guy that started ESPN's college football programming on it. They've got two other guys that are driving the bus, and they both have way too much money, but they're doing this all to build children's hospitals in Alabama. They've already funded 4 personally, and they'd like to use this money to fund more for cancer
That's
research
neat.
and cancer treatment for children across the state of Alabama and Georgia. So there's neat stuff that's going. They're the only competition to you in terms of being the top guys, and I don't know who's going to win, but it'll be one of the two of you guys for sure.
We'll try to give them a run for their money. I'm constantly impressed by the quality of people this is attracting, just in our team, let alone anywhere else. We have a gentleman who just joined our team. I'll give him a shout out. Irv Nelson is his name. He was an attorney here in Vegas for 40 years. He was in legislation here, very connected, and he's transitioning out of law to come work with us full time. He just loves what we're doing and what we can do for customers. Really great guy. And we're seeing others, a former lieutenant governor is coming on our team. And so it's kind of fun because it's, again, without exception. I used to be able to say this all the time, that we don't have a single person on our team that wasn't referred by someone else on our team, which says a lot, right, about how happy they are. I can't say that anymore because I just had 2 people who reached out to me just randomly. They saw one of our videos or a radio show and they said, we want to be a part of your team. So they weren't referred by somebody, but they were attracted. They're now being onboarded by Jill and Victoria. But it's really exciting for me. It's very encouraging seeing not only how good of a vision or a mission we have, how good our offerings are, like CBI, and just the quality of the people that we're attracting. It's very humbling, to be honest.
Quality attracts quality. It's just the way it is. So congratulations.
I agree.
And let's go after it. I mean,
well, you have a great weekend, my friend.
Thank you.
Again, thanks for all your time. I'm here if I can do anything to assist.
Thank you.
We'll continue the conversation. I do appreciate you and your example, and thanks for being a good friend.
I just got one of your guys to commit to 50,000 lives before June 30th. So,
fantastic.
It's a dinner, but at the same time, if he hits that, you and I will be very, very pleased. He says he said he's going to go hit it. So.
Well, I'm going to hold you to it. When he does that, I think you, me, and him, the 3 of us, should meet for dinner somewhere. And
sounds like a deal.
Tell him thanks. I'll let you pay for it.
I knew you would, and I'd be happy to do it. So, Patrick, have a nice weekend. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, my friend.
Okay. Take care.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode of Finding Certainty. We hope you've gained some more insight into how to create more certainty in your own business or nonprofit. Join us next week for another taste of the Certainty Experience. Until then, we wish you greater certainty in all that you do.